Let me ask you a question for this coming Christmas Day. How many times have you heard the stories that we have just read from the Gospel of Luke? How many times have you heard the story about the simple shepherds in the field watching over their flocks at night? And suddenly in a starlit sky there comes the angel and the heavenly host proclaiming good news to all humanity. And the shepherds go and follow the directions of the angels, and they find Mary and Joseph and the baby Jesus lying in the straw, surrounded by silent, innocent benediction of the animals in the stable. How many times have you heard that story? And how many times have you seen it portrayed on greeting cards around this Christmas season? In pictures that we see on television every Christmas, this wonderful, warm, loving image. Isn't it a lot like the swaddling clothes, the bands of cloth that Jesus is described as being wrapped in? Christmas is like that for us. It is like streamers of warm and wonderful family memories, of images that we treasure and hold dear, that we wrap ourselves every Christmas. It keeps us warm in the winter. It makes us feel comfortable. It brings us back to childhood every Christmas, year after year. You know, the truth is, no matter how forward-looking or progressive we may believe ourselves to be as Christians, every Christmas we all turn into traditionalists. If you're like me, you are an absolute sentimentalist whenever it comes to the Christmas season. I don't want Christmas to ever change. I don't want to ever stop hearing this story in Luke. I never want to stop seeing that image of the baby Jesus in the manger. I want to feel that again and again. I am so nostalgic for it. It is so comforting to me. I never want my Christmases to change. Over the past few weeks, I have heard on the radio so many theologians telling me that this didn't happen and that didn't happen with the Nativity. In some of the Bible studies I have had, we have indeed looked at different aspects of it, some not very comfortable. Yes, there's a dark side to this story. Yes, there's a terrible and brutal side. And yes, there's the story of rejection running through it all. But for this one day, just for Christmas Day, let us not ponder these things in our heart. So what do I suggest that you do on Christmas Day? What do I suggest that you do to celebrate this wonderful moment of change in your life? I suggest that you wrap up in Christmas like I'm going to do. That you once again enjoy those visions of angels and shepherds and the manger and the baby in the straw and the animals and Mary and Joseph, and keep it exactly the way it's always been for you. Just for this Christmas Day, let it be comforting and traditional. Let it be familiar and warm and loving. There's time enough tomorrow for you and me to step out into our own incarnation and once again to pick up our gifts and go to work with God to face changes, to face the world that is hell-bent on destroying itself, and make the changes God requires of us for the glory of his name. But for this one special day, let us relax into the peace that is holy, and to a time where time itself seems to stand still, and the winds and tides of change are held back with the sound of angelic voices drifting through a starry cold night. We will be celebrating one of the most important days the world has ever known. Let us rejoice and be glad in it, and sing just as the angels did. Glory to God in the highest, and peace to his people on earth.